I'm really curious because it's super exciting for all three of you, right? It's a major transition phase, both professionally and also for your businesses. How are all of you guys adjusting to both the new worlds professionally in your careers and the markets?
Well, it's been quite a transition for me. I was with the NBA for almost 9 years before transitioning to Ayala Malls back in August. Feels like 5 years already, but in the best way. It didn't feel like such a harsh transition. When I joined, I work with some professionals now that I've known in past lives. And I think the organization was really just welcoming. And I immediately found, I guess, my groove, learning how the malls work, coming from the side of the retailer, both from the NBA and the Nike sides. It's like a really different world. But, you take it literally one day at a time, understanding the bigger task. So far, so good.
Awesome. How about you, Kat?
I'm learning every day. My state changes, I guess, throughout the day. I'm learning so many things about doing business in the Philippines, being a woman entrepreneur in the entertainment field. I'm learning a lot about cash flow management and collections, things that were never challenges to me when working in corporate. There are things that I'm learning that I miss about corporate, but there are things that I really want to change for future Filipinas, future entrepreneurs, and I'm learning that I want to make a difference, more than just in the entertainment field, but for entrepreneurs and women.
I really resonate with that. I think both in the kind of the pace at which we move, but also just even the circumstances in which I joined what was a few years ago, NYMA, right? Like it became very evident that while our B2B enterprise business was flying, the consumer e-wallet business was clearly behind versus a very obvious top-of-mind competitor. But together, when I got to meet them, we were all on the same page. Like, hey, if you're sick and tired of being the number 2 e-wallet, then let's change the conversation and try to be the number 1 digital bank. And there was really a meeting of the minds already. They were like, good news, man. We just acquired our digital banking license, so let's do this together. But then now it's crazy because we're moving towards a direction where we are truly not defined by our competitors. In some ways, we compete versus e-wallets. In some ways, we compete versus other digital banks. And now we're rapidly heading into a world where we're competing head-on with traditional banks. So it's crazy. It's chaotic. But I think it's an opportunity to cut through the noise and see if you can climb up that ladder faster than anyone else. So far, it's been fun.
How are you reimagining the malls to make it suitable for a younger audience?
Retail has changed so much in the last 10 years, and just in the last 5, it was really kind of this jump. And you know what? It continues to change constantly, and it will change for the next couple of more years. But the Ayala malls, we were never really just about what can you buy here. The values that, what we valued more were making memories, building connections, the kind of experiences that you can have in the malls that cannot be replicated online. Sure, you can buy your dinner there, but you can't connect with friends over a meal online. So there is still a space. The role of malls will change, but there still is a role, right? Where we really want to focus our attentions on is how do we create spaces, create experiences that encourage people to spend time with each other, to connect with each other. And that we feel is, where we can can add value to people's lives. It's also an opportunity, we're a landlord, right? We actually house several brands and experiences. And it's how do we create spaces that enable people, our brands, to provide experiences to their consumers directly. There's really no substitution for experience, touching and feeling, experiencing a brand in person. And so I was telling him, remember when you first saw Glorieta 4 and how that looked like? And I'm like, remember the first Starbucks in 6750? And it's those stories that continue to make the malls relevant, right? And how do we continue to deliver those kinds of experiences? How do we continue to create those kinds of memories that people talk about 10, 20 years later? That's the key.
Yeah, Pepe, I know a lot of your content and brand ambassadors are Gen Z and younger. Both the ambassadors and the customers. What's the secret to talking to them?
Put on a baseball cap, put my skateboard over my shoulder and say, hello, fellow kids, how do you do? No, I think it's interesting. We're very fortunate where we happen to be addressing an opportunity within the category language of finance that I think is also really just relevant to the younger audience you want to tap into. So, like we want to be the bank of the next generation. Like we want to win with 30s down. But also, if you're feeling young, please, you're more than welcome at Maya. And what have we found? Two things. So one is banks treat money like it's the most boring thing in the world, which we find crazy because people in their 20s and 30s think money is thrilling and exciting. If I have it, I get to go to Starbucks 6750, especially back in the day in Glicos. And if I don't, I'm twiddling my thumbs at home, calling Quark over at NU107 for his radio show because I didn't have money to go out on Saturdays. But and so at least the way we participate in the category, the way we show up, we try to capture the thrill and exhilaration of having access to money. Money is fundamentally cool in the eyes of our customer, and we try to treat it that way. I think the other thing, too, is at least with engaging a younger audience, I think the most important thing is to not focus on that they're younger and that we're talking to, hey, we are now a younger version of ourselves, right? And which is always harder if you're a legacy brand. But what we've just found, what works for us is if you develop fundamentally cool and desirable value propositions with a cool experience around it, and you can tell a cool story around it with the right people, then there's a good chance that that's enough. Because when you're young, all you're after is cool. So as long as you're able to get as close to that as possible, I'm not saying we get it right all the time. I'm sure you took a look at our stuff, like somebody's like, that's not cool. We try, but yeah, so far, generally that's been working for us.
Kat, your creators are very cool. And they're not just chasing trends, they're kind of like shaping culture. What defines like a next gen talent for you?
For talents, there are a lot of things that define a talent that's going to be somebody that people aspire to be and aspire to watch. One of the things is connecting with a community. I think that people don't underestimate how important it is for a talent to have a strong community and to connect to them, because it's a lot of power. If you have a community of 16 million people but you aren't engaging them, then what good is that 16 million? You have to be able to wield that like a sword, right? And be able to get them to do the things that you want to do, to listen to them, to engage with your content, right? And that's where the power is driven from. So I think community is a very important part. Authenticity is a super important part. You'll see there are a lot of creators that are hyper niche or hyper micro, which to the point pushes them into a place of invisibility. Being able to be relatable, authentic, and have variety to your content. Sure, you can be a creator that talks about food, but it's also important to include things that are organic to you. What is the food in malls like, right? What can I buy? How can I use Maya to be able to purchase food, right? So I think the second part of it is being able to be relatable with things that matter to your community. And then the third is, I think, I like what you said, being cool, right? You have to be cool, and you have to be able to speak the language of the generation. I learn from them every day. Yes, we joke about Gen Zs, but Gen Zs are our future. If we don't work with them, we don't understand what's important to them, we're not going to learn. So learning is important, right? The way we listen to our parents, or listened, I don't know, I didn't really listen. But we also have to listen to the next generation that's coming in. So I think, to summarize, what makes a next generation creator somebody that connects with their community, right? Is able to wield that. Somebody that's really able to resonate, right, with their audience, and then somebody that's able to speak the talk, right?
Community and culture has become so important, right, in the past few years. So, May, what does innovation look like when you're marketing not just a legacy brand, but an institution?
I guess that's what I come to work every day to do and to figure out. And it's really, how do you take such a beloved brand with a rich and deep history here in the Philippines and take it forward to the next 10, 20 years. So I guess the real, and the answer is we're working on it. We're figuring it out. There's really no formula as to like how do you take, how do you stay true to the traditions, to the legacy, to what made Ayala click and work, and what made so many Filipinos connect with the brand. And how do you then balance that with innovation, which will be what will take you to the future? right? So I think what we're trying to figure out, or we're trying to do, is understanding the attributes of the brand that made it so beloved. At the same time, keeping a close ear to the ground and understanding what kind of innovations are necessary for us to, us to write the future for Ayala Malls.
What does brave branding actually look like from the inside?
I think I don't think all brands have to be brave, I think brands just have as a marketer, I feel like you just have a fundamental responsibility, as boring as it sounds, to just make money for your shareholders. Right? I don't have a responsibility to create art or move culture forward, to kind of like paraphrase something I heard about like Michael Eisner from Disney back in the day. But, to make money, you have to be entertaining and interesting and persuasive. And sometimes in the process of doing that, you might make some art and you might move culture forward. For us, the reason why I think generally it lands with the market when we do what's seen to be brave and different and batshit crazy things sometimes is because it is core to our DNA. Like when we were redefining what the brand was and we did that major step back, it was clear to us that we had two brand values that would differentiate us from the rest of the market. The first is defiance, and the second is optimism. So defiance itself is a word that would probably scare most bankers, right? But for us, it's about defying the conventions of banking that hold people back from having better experiences with their money, but also defying the conventions in communication that really just make everybody look like wallpaper, right? So what's the point? But it's not about being rebellious for the sake of being rebellious. It's, it is driven by this optimism that what we do allows people to have better experiences with their money sooner rather than later. And that's always kind of like the balancing part of it. That's the yin and yang. So it's defiance and optimism. So I think as long as there's something that's true to your brand DNA that you feel confident aligns with the market you want to win with, the execution tends to follow. That's been our experience.
Kat, what makes brand partnerships truly work for your talents? Is there something that brands are missing or that your creators are actually looking for when brands reach out to them?
For us, it's for a creator and for an agency, it's always quite easy for us to tell if a brand understands how to use social media or digital media or you don't. And right off the bat, I think the word that comes to mind is control. If there is too much control and you are trying to treat your digital media like ATL, dictate, it's not going to work. It does not work. I actually got to work with Maya on a campaign, and they were incredible to work with. They let us have total creative control, and the video ended up doing so well. When we were working with Maya, they gave us complete creative control, and they said, our goal is we want to focus on engagement. We understand we're not going to get a click-through rate from this because TikTok isn't that medium. We want engagement. We want awareness. We want people to think we're cool, and being able to do that is cool. That garnered 14.8 million impressions for a creator at the time who had 100,000 followers. Damn. So it really shows that if you do understand digital media, right, very much like Pepe and his team do, they're able to work with you and work with creators that are able to create content that actually impacts a consumer, that actually will stick with you. And that led to actually a deeper partnership between both of our companies. So for me, it's if you're going to work in the digital marketing space, Pepe said something really cool earlier. Don't treat it like ATL. Treat it almost like print media. He was saying that that's how he treats it, where there's a very strong editorial voice. Don't drown that out, because as I mentioned earlier, communities are so important. And if you alienate from the community, you're not going to get your money's worth. 47% of MSMEs are switching their entertainment, they're spent into digital media. So we're seeing crazy numbers come in for these influencers, and they're able to command these rates. So you as brands should be getting that in return. And the way to get that into return is a collaborative relationship and a deep relationship as well. Do not buy a singular video and then think that that's enough. You have to develop a relationship with the community. Their community is going to want to see that you're investing in the creator.
Awesome. Love that. Actually, the interesting thing about malls is basically you're dealing a lot with creators, you're dealing with brands, but also a lot of communities, a lot of fandoms. etc. What does a good partnership look like for Ayala Malls?
For us, it's really, I think, looking at shared values. When you guys are aligned, or in when you're aligned in your values, and it's an easy working relationship. But at the same time, really, for us, understanding the kind of tribes that constitute our customer base, we've actually really worked hard to build relationships with communities. Like, for instance, Taylor Sheesh, who was like this impersonator. Actually, she was discovered at a Taylor Swift fan event at Market. So we've had those communities come back because we provide them the space. We enable them to actually come together, be with each other. We've had titas of BTS. And actually, that grew to so big that they actually had to find a bigger space. So it's really, each mall would have their own unique kind of communities that they serve. For some reason, in Manila Bay, we have anime, cosplay. We have a lot of different kinds of pet groups. And more, it's how people interact with each other. When they find their shared values within these communities, they come back. And they know that they're welcome in the spaces that we provide.
A few months ago, I was looking at our total marketing budget, what's in the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. And we had also done recently a marketing mix modeling study, which is kind of like a little nerdy. But basically, if you put in all the inputs of your, not just even your marketing spend, but actually to your point earlier, changes in your product that make it a better experience. And so many other things, market factors as well, pricing, etc. Our competitor going down on an extended downtime. Those are a lot of inputs. Then we've defined a certain set of outcomes that are important to us, sign-ups, monthly active users, etc., etc. It's like a really, really nerdy but really important statistical exercise over more than 2 years worth of data, where we arrived at, okay, this is the level of efficiency of spending. This is the outcome and the kind of efficiency you can get from spending on a YouTube versus a Meta versus influencers, so on and so forth, Right? So we've been using that to guide us. I was figuring out when I was looking at what influencers spent correlated with the most. It correlated the most with what we would traditionally refer to as above the line spend, right? But in this case, honestly, like, digital is above the line. Like, YouTube earlier today just declared that we've beaten broadcast TV in the Philippines. Like, Filipinos watch TV on YouTube more than traditional TV at this point. But so if YouTube is TV, I found that creators and influencers are like print. When your media mix was like that, right, it would be like TV, radio, print. Of course, we know what radio is now. But hey, you're also on the other side of it. Yeah. But because like for print, like, you're tapping into certain communities, certain interests, certain voices that may not have a mass reach of a celebrity that you would put behind a TV commercial, but they can be thought leaders. They can influence, like the first set of early adopters, which will then eventually influence other people. And what I've found is the dynamic of how magazines work. And so when I say print in particular, I mean magazines in particular. When you used to do like editorial buys, right? Like, I want a cover by, like, you can't just slap your product on there, right? There has to be like a lovely story that ties everything together. And I think it's a very similar dynamic with creators. The same creators that normally before, like 10, 20 years ago, you might normally only see them being interviewed in a magazine. Now they get to just broadcast themselves online. So that's how it works for us. It works primarily as an awareness and intent driver at the top of the funnel. The lion's share of our marketing investment is going to go towards paid media for like YouTube, Meta, TikTok, the combination of that, because like, mass reach and frequency works. We find creators are a great amplifier of that. They can localize some of those global campaign conversations we're triggering with their respective communities. At the end of the day, a lot of the fundamentals are the same, but the media can change, but the fundamentals of how you go about building a great campaign fundamentally stays the same. And we've just, figured out the role that creators play in our overall marketing mix.
For the malls specifically, one of our big tasks is really to drive people to our malls. So the lion's share of our budget goes to creating experiences that will do that. So it's really a lot of below-the-line play. And then also a big chunk of the budget also goes to paid media. So there's a lot of newness in the way we do marketing, but there's also still a lot of what we knew 10, 15 years ago. Those principles still apply. In order to support, what we're doing on the ground, occasions that we celebrate in the malls where we hope to drive more people inside and let them stay there, then that's where we, in case-to-case basis, bring in creators, right? If there's like some big event, and usually these happen across all our 20 plus 30 malls, we then look into how do we drive awareness for what's going on in the malls in the next couple of weeks. So it's in support of the bigger things that we're doing. So it would also probably be in the low single digits. Yeah, same.
Yeah, Kat, having seen these results in working with multiple brands and with your background in Globe, what do you see really works in terms of KPIs?
It depends on what the brand wants. What are you trying to get out of it? Do you want to get known? Do you want an instant conversion from this? Because it makes it so much easier now with creators. You digital link, click out, purchase, you can track that. What are you using digital media for? And that's what we recommend the KPIs on. So engagement is awareness, right? But actual comments, click-through rates, measuring your UTM links, that differs. According to Statista, 2024 total revenue worldwide for creators, it's a $1.7 billion industry, which is larger than esports. It's a big industry, and it's growing by the day. There are a lot of institutions that are actually now offering degrees in becoming a creator. There's an entire business around it. You cannot just make money being a creator or look at it as a creator is a creator and you earn based on revenue from a platform or from a brand. That's looking at a revenue chart that's going to look very messy. You want to hockey stick that. So you can't earn based on a rented platform. So for creators, we own the IP and we look for different ways to monetize that. And that's where the big money is, right? I mean, brand deals are great, but it's not sustainable. So I think for us, one of the things also that's super interesting in the creator space is how many people in the Philippines are identifying as creators today. And today in the Philippines, so not counting nanos, but from macro up, there are over 500,000 creators in the Philippines today. So it's a lot. So, and yes, they're mostly Gen Z and Alpha. So it's an interesting space. And what we're seeing today, and maybe this could also help just to close out my point, the spend in terms of companies, FMCGs are our biggest clients. FMCGs use us quite heavily. On the lower end of the funnel will probably be banks, digital banks, in terms of who our clients are, but FMCGs are our biggest client today. Virality is something that is misconstrued because people think virality means success. Virality does not always constitute to success if you don't clearly define with your influencer what you're trying to achieve. So for me, it's really being able to push virality out the window and really define what are you trying to achieve with social media, what are you using it for, and how can we help you design that campaign so that you can get something out of it. Because a lot of the times it's a challenge when working with there are a ton of agencies in the Philippines, and a lot of them will say, yes, we can get you the creators, yes, we can get you the views, but when you have to explain that to your board, what is the return? Your shareholders are going to ask you, okay, so we spent 30 million on this creator campaign. What did I get back? I got views. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for my brand? What does that mean for my company? So that's what we at NYMA are trying to really do. We have true conversations with our clients. What do you need to tell your board to show that this is a success, and how do we help you achieve that?
It's very interesting how Maya works with celebrities, endorsers, creators.
To help promote our awesome savings product. Her name is Julia Barreto. If you're familiar with her, you'll know her for being pretty. And actually, when we got to know her, she was like, great timing. I'm just into like my savings era. I am getting into it, right? We're like, okay, we'll develop a nice campaign with you. That's a nice 15-seconder. That's okay. It's solid. I'm not going to say it's going to change the world. One of the unique ideas that did come out of this partnership was knowing that she had done like a calendar girl thing for a alcohol brand before. Us knowing that one of the things that makes our savings account unique is we pay out your interest, very high interest, on a daily basis. So it keeps our customers engaged. Like they love, even if it's just a few pesos at a time coming in every day. That's way better than 1 peso coming in at the end of every month with your traditional bank. So we wanted to activate that idea in a way that was true to somebody like Julia, who was down to do something fun. And so a few weeks ago, we introduced her actually as the world's first savings calendar girl, where you would see every month, every day you'll see actually, if you did, like it's genuine, like real numbers and financial literacy. The people who, and actually we are distributing this, we're sending it to a bunch of press, actually we have already, it's showing up in some of our like barangay Maya centers as well, where it makes a lot of sense to be. The traction is, the reception has been so good, this might very well be an annual thing that we start doing. It's like somebody could be the next calendar girl or guy. Who knows? But we're making savings sexy again. That's really the idea of all this.
Guys, this has been so fun. I love you three. And thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's, it's just really nice.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so excited for the future of Saya and like what
Yay.
you guys are doing. And yeah, thank you, and congratulations to the Saya team.
Yes.
Same. Thank you and congratulations. It's been very fun. And we know full well that marketing will not save the world. We're not deluded, but it can certainly be fun with the right people. So thank you.